Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. My very special guest today is Scotty Barnhart, director of the iconic Count Basie Orchestra. They've got a new album out. It's called Basie Swings the Blues. We're talking about it on the show now. There's some great artists, blues artists, iconic, just your favorite blues artists who joined the Count Basie Orchestra. Let's talk about, God, so many questions. The recording celebrates the deep-rooted connection that there is between jazz and blues. And I don't know if a lot of people know that. Can you explain that connection?
Yeah, well, when the music began in the, from the, if you want to go way back to the field hollers and the spirituals, sung by the slaves, all the way up through the military bands, the early military music, and the New Orleans brass bands, and the blues was always there. It was always there from the inception. Now, jazz, the way that we know it today, after the advent of ragtime, which was around the heyday of ragtime was 1895 to about 1910 or so, something like that. After that, the music began to get much more sophisticated, and it kind of turned into the early jazz when you started getting around Louis Armstrong in the 20s and King Oliver, Fletcher Henderson's. And so when the music really began to get more sophisticated, it never discarded that blues element of it. And Louis Armstrong is a prime example of that. If you listen to the music of Louis Armstrong with his hot fives and hot sevens, in that period of time, he was one of the first ones to really show that although the music was becoming very sophisticated, that you never lost sight of the blues. And he's also in the work of Fletcher Henderson and early other musicians like Jello Roll Morton. But jazz and blues have always been together, basically. It's always been that underlying element. Matter of fact, when I began to learn the music and study and all of that, as I was coming up, I would always hear the older guys say, "Don't forget the blues. Don't forget the blues. And you can play all of this fancy cerebral stuff if you want. That's fine, but don't forget the blues, and don't forget to play for the people to try to make them dance." Those are the two things I always remember that I heard. And now that I've been playing this music for a long time, I understand that the blues, I grew up listening to it. Even in church, man, when you listen to gospel music, that's basically the blues. When I first heard Count Basie, I said to myself, "Oh man, that's the same thing I hear in church every Sunday." So gospel music, the blues, the spirituals, it's all connected. Jazz has all of that in it. It has everything in it. So this is why it was so important when we did this recording to kind of go back and just show that those musicians who were playing this Delta blues music, this really early music that still sounds the same from its inception, and with Charlie Patton to the day, it sounds the same. Put that on top of what we're doing, it's like a new marriage again. It's like a new way of just stirring the pot, so to speak. Because you got the sophistication of 5 saxophones and 4 trombones and 4 trumpets. You got that sophisticated harmony, and you got the gut bucket sound of the blues with the guitarist who's just weaving in and out of that, taking some of the sophistication, he's taking some of the gut bucket. And this is what blues musicians do. They do all of it, and jazz musicians do it as well, just from different angles. So now you got the jazz musicians here and the blues guys here. Now we're just putting them right back together, right on top of each other, underneath, on top, underneath, and just weaving in and out. This is how I knew the recording needed to be. We needed to have the musicians. Yeah, everybody needed to be able to play how they normally play. We didn't change anything about how, as far as how we play. Okay, now we got these blues cats here. We got to do this. No, man. We played exactly how we play. They played exactly how they play, and I knew it would work. And it was the most easiest recording session I've ever been a part of. Everything was done in 1 or 2 takes at the most. We did 12 songs in 2 days. You got rock bands, man, that take 2 years to do 6 songs.
You guys were feeling it. You were feeling each other.
Yeah, man. And it was like a big party, man. And so I knew it could happen if we had the framework right. Yeah.
I can't wait till everybody gets to hear it. But they've had a little sneak peek, a little teaser out throughout the show here.
Okay.
I gotta take a break again, and then we're gonna come back and just say goodbye, Scotty, and play the new "I'm a Woman" single for everybody here. But I have a question though. I was watching this movie the other night, and they started talking about the Hawthorne effect, in physics, which is basically a form of reactivity in which subjects modify an aspect of their behavior in response to their knowing that they are being studied.
Oh, I see.
And then it made me think of the orchestra, your orchestra, the Count Basie Orchestra. I thought, do you think this applies to music, that when we observe or we appreciate it, it changes in some way.
Well, I would say it does that when for example, if we do a recording in a studio and nobody's there but the band and the engineers, it'll sound a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, without the musicians even really thinking about it, it just will sound a certain way. But if we do the same recording, same engineers, but now add 50 people, it's going to sound different.
Yeah.
Because that extra energy goes into us. That's the difference. So I guess in a way that's the best way I can explain it. It does make
sense. I was interested in your answer, and then I'm like, I got to ask you, because you probably more than anybody has seen this with the size of the orchestra, the places that you've toured around the world, the different audiences, the way the music is just such magic. Well, thank you for that answer. We'll be right back. We're with the Scotty Barnhart. He's director of the Count Basie Orchestra. The new album's Basie Swings the Blues. We'll be right back. Okay, final here, just a kind of a goodbye. Do you want to, if you want to mention everybody again? I mean, I know there's so many people to mention, but if you want to, however you want to do it, this is kind of your time to kind of to the listener, appeal to them, tell them, you know, about the album if you want. And then so I'm just going to turn it over to you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Jeremiah, for having me. And again,
hold on, let me come back.
Okay, sorry.
All right. Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. My friend and very special guest, Scotty Barnhart. He's the director of the Count Basie Orchestra. We just had a great time together. If you're just tuning in, you got to go back and listen to this on the podcast or on YouTube. Really great stories about his time with the Count Basie Orchestra and the new album, which is Basie Swings the Blues. It's got the world's biggest blues icons, and they join the Count Basie Orchestra for this just incredible historic recording. It's out on September 15th. And I'll let you tell final words, my friend Scotty. Thank you so much for spending the time with us and this new album and your music that you put out.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Jeremiah. I really appreciate it. On behalf of the musicians, we say thank you. And on behalf of Count Basie, I say thank you. But this recording is a really important recording. It's like you mentioned, a historic recording, but it's a great recording. It's a fun recording. And I'm glad we were able to bring these two connected genres together in jazz and blues. And I'd like to thank our special guests, George Benson, Buddy Guy, Bobby Rush, Keb Mo, Charlie Musselwhite, Robert Cray, Shemkia Copeland, Ledisi, Carmen Bradford, Lauren Mitchell, Castro Coleman, Mr. Sipp, the Mississippi Blues Child, Jamie Davis, Charlton Johnson, Bobby Floyd. It's just a wonderful recording. I hope I don't leave anyone out. And also I'd like to thank the gentleman that made it all possible, Mr. Sam Beeler and Greg Rico of the Unity Music Foundation, who's funded our recording. John Burk of Candid Records for our great record label, who also co-produced it with me, and a great drummer, Steve Jordan of the Rolling Stones, who also is my co-producer. And everybody that worked hard together, Steve Jenowick, the engineer, Paul Blakemore, the mastering engineer, and just everyone involved with the project to present it to the world, because I think it's going to set a new precedent in what's possible in terms of collaboration. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's about collaboration. It's not about competition. It's about collaboration. And I think hopefully we'll be able to play this music around the world with some of these special guests. You know, we can figure out how to do that somehow, go on tour with some big act or something, and just bring this to the world, because everybody needs to hear it. It's a wonderful recording, and I'm just glad that we can make it happen.
Thank you so much, Scotty Barnhart, Count Basie Orchestra. And here it is, featuring Shemkia Copeland, Buddy Guy, and Charlie Musselwhite, I'm a Woman. And don't forget to pre-order and save Basie Swings the Blues, the new album, available September 15th. Thank you so much, Scotty.
Thank you.
Collaborate, be kind to each other, treat each other like humans, and look at what can happen. It's just amazing. Communicate, but listen more and evolve. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
Okay, that's awesome. Let me stop the recording here.
Okay.